Everybody, welcome back. If you joined last week, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Megan, and I'm an architectural designer based in Arkansas, and we're going to be learning some Revit. So last week we had a little bit more introduction and kind of taking a tour and stuff. This week we're just going to jump right into it. So, hey, Aaron. Thanks for joining. You'll probably find this really boring, but thank you for joining anyway. And if you have any students who are interested in this, then point them this way. I found a lot of East students that really find this interesting and love to play around with this type of software. And this one, it's easy to open up and just kind of get lost. So this is nice to just kind of give some direction really for beginners. So we're going to jump right in. I am going to start sharing my screen. Let's make sure I share the right thing. Oop, I got a bug. Okay, I think we should be good. So everybody should be seeing Revit up here on my screen, on your screen. Okay, so we're gonna go. If you haven't opened any other projects since last week, then yours should be sitting right up in here. I've got a whole bunch of them. Oh, hey, Brandon. Okay, we're just jumping right in this week, Brandon. We're no intro, we're just going for it. So when you open Revit, it's going to show you all of your recent files here. And so you're just going to find your file that you started with last week. It should be right here. If you've opened a whole bunch of them and it's not there, then just go here to open and make sure you do open under models, not under families. But I'm just going to click on mine right here. Go. I'll be fast this week. Last week we went right at about 2 hours. And that was actually kind of to be expected being the first one. This week, I'm really going to try and keep it closer to an hour, really not go over an hour and a half. So what we're going to try to do this week is work on our windows and then take a look just at the kitchen layout a little bit. And then we're also going to work on the front and back porch. And I just realized that I left my sketchbook in the basement with my tornado stuff the other night. So I'm going to see if I can get somebody to bring me my sketchbook. Can someone please bring me my sketchbook from the basement? We had some nasty storms a couple of nights ago, and my laptop and my sketchbook and my Holy Grail thumb drive, all of that stuff, special stuff, went down there, and I never brought it back up. So someone will bring me that, but we're going to go ahead and jump in with the windows. I don't need my sketch for windows. We're just going to play around with it. So mine opened. Okay, that's nice. I'm going to have to put my phone on silent because my people are bothering me. All right. So this opened right up to the default 3D view. It's usually going to open to whatever view you were in last. So that's probably where I left it. So I'm going to go over here into the properties project browser and double click on the floor plan and go here. Now, since we just put that floor in last time, it's showing all of this. So that is always really, really distracting to me. So I want to get rid of it. So there are a couple of different ways that we can get rid of that. We can either just make sure it's highlighted, which you can see it has, when you hover over it, it's got that blue outline. We can right click on that and then go to hide in view and elements or category. We only have one, so we can just do elements. So that's one way to just get it out of the way. Or there is another way, and sometimes this comes in handy if you had like a second floor with a balcony or something like that, and you actually want to see that edge and you don't want to mess with detail lines, I'm going to show you another way. We're going to go Control Z to put it back. So if we hover, we've got that one again. So right click on it again, but this time go to Override Graphics in View and then by Element. This is going to give us a whole lot of specific things. Thank you. It's book. Yay. Okay. I'm surprised nobody asked where it was. They knew where it was. Okay. So we're going to go look in here where it says surface patterns, and it's got foreground and background. We're just going to uncheck that visible box and then go okay. So what that did was it got rid of that pattern that was on it, but the floor is still in here. And so if we wanted to click on it, we could. Now, if we just left it hidden by the first way that we did it, we wouldn't be able to do that. It's just completely hidden from that view. So I try to get in the habit of doing it this way, just in case I need to grab it, but we're good for right now. So we got that out of the way. We're going to take a look at some windows. Go up here to your window tab. This is on the architecture tab, the window tool. Keyboard shortcut WN. Click on that or type WN, and this is going to come loaded with, 2022 actually gave us a couple of different ones. We're going to start out just with this fixed window, and you can really put in whatever size you want. I'm going to go ahead and put in the 24 by 72 inch. And I'm just going to come stick some on the front here. Let's do, say, 3 over here, and notice how I put them wonky. Kind of one's going the wrong way. We're going to fix that. So we'll stick some over here, and then let's say, let's stick a couple more over here, maybe a couple here, something like that. Just kind of sticking them in there where we want. Let's just stick a couple in here, and then that should be good for now. If we want to put in some more, we will. So now we can see those in our floor plan view, but if you go ahead and go over here to back to your default 3D view, you're going to see what that did in here. And it stuck them in, when I put them in a floor plan view, it put them in at a default head height of 7 feet. So we've got a lot of different ways that we can control things. So these are just plain fixed picture windows. If we want to change the window that's in there for something that's already loaded, then we can go over here into our properties browser and we can pick different things. So these are all already in here, okay? So I can pick that. That's going to change that. And that is actually, that's not a bad looking window right there. That is, looks like a twin, yeah, it's like a French casement. Not a whole lot of people put those in because French casements are kind of expensive. And then, so here's just a generic double hung. So we might actually work with that instead. Now, if we want to change something and we've already got it in that way, I'm going to click on the fronts right here. What was one way that we could do? We can match it. So I'm going to do keyboard shortcut MA, and I'm going to click on this window, and then I'm going to click on all the rest of these front windows. Now, this makes this really apparent. So, remember I said they were kind of going different directions? Well, this is really showing that because this is a different material on the inside and the outside. Windows, in case you don't know this, or if you're in a different part of the country where double hung windows or single hung windows aren't common, when you have windows double hung, single hung with 2 sashes like this, the top sash always sits to the outside. So you think of it like if rain is running off of them, if it went the other way, then it would catch water. And obviously we want things making up the exterior of our home to shed water. So that's a good way that I just check. Sometimes, depending on your wall structure and the window and things like that, you might look at the inside or look at your floor plan and not be able to tell easily at a glance if you placed it incorrectly with the exterior and the interior, and it does make a difference. So this is a way that I look at it. If I look in a elevation view or the 3D view and I can see, oh yes, the top is on the outside, then that is the correct way. So this one is inside out. How do we fix it? Just click on it, hit the space bar, boom, it's right where it's supposed to go. Now, these are in a horrible, disgusting, ugly position. And I'm still kind of new with Revit 2022. Like I said, I've only been using it for a couple of weeks. And I usually work in my template as well. So these windows, I'm glad they had these loaded in here because it makes it easier for people just starting out without the template. But I want to see kind of like if it's letting us, yes, it's letting us hide this trim. So we're going to leave it alone just for right now. What I want to do is, and I will say with Windows in general in architecture are one of those things that they're very subjective. They can completely change the look of a project, and they can be both from an architectural and a building and a drafting, all of the above standpoint. They can be really simple or they can be really complicated. You can have, you know, one type and size of window and you sprinkle that throughout your entire project and that's all you have, or you might have just a couple of different kinds and keep it really simple, or you could have lots and lots of windows and lots of different kinds. It really depends on the style of the house. And you can take one particular home and really help drive the style in a lot of different directions based on what you do with the windows. Usually for my purposes, I have clients that are coming to me with a certain style in mind, and so that's kind of a driving force of what we're doing with windows. Or, you know, they might want a lot of natural light, things like that. But there are a few principles that I kind of hold to. I've had people ask me before, is there like a mathematical equation that is that's a proportion that makes the windows, you know, right? Like how much surface area should there be? And I said, you know, I'm sure there's some kind of calculation, but it totally varies for different styles of homes. So I'm going by what's the style, what's the client preference, and what do I think looks good. And the thing that I'm really, really picky on is the proportions. I do tend to like taller, narrower windows. These are kind of short and squatty. So we're going to change these right now. This is the 28 by 46. Since we like this double hung, we're going to go in here and we're going to change it because they don't have anything that I want. I can change it to a different one. Still don't really like that. And one thing that I do is I will usually keep a source catalog handy. This is kind of my Windows Bible. These are some windows that I really like. They're the Anderson 100 series. They're made of Fibrex, and they're just a good, really stable window. Builders like them. All the clients that I've recommended them to, they really like them. So, and it's a good reference for sizes. So if you're just playing around, you're never going to build your house, put in whatever windows you want, that's fine. If you are actually designing a house that you plan on it being built, reference what sizes you can actually get. It's always going to be cheaper if you stick with standard sizes. And the big thing to remember with these is, even if you're not using standard sizes, there's going to be a limit. You can only go so big or so small, both height and width. So using something like this, if I have a client that's kind of asking for a certain thing, then I might reference this and go, yeah, we can't really go that tall. That's kind of getting out of the comfort zone. So having something like this for reference is really, really good. If you're a professional, you can have those mailed to you usually, but all that information is also available online. Just go to any window manufacturer and dig around a little bit for the specs and you'll find it. So what we're going to do is, I like the 30-inch width on this, but I liked the 72-inch height on that other one. Let's go let's go 5.5. Let's go 66 inches. So what we're going to do is we've got that window selected. So it's highlighted blue. We're going to go over here to edit type, click on that. And then what we want to do is this is our window family. Remember I talked last week about families and systems? A window is a family, and these are the different types. So if you see type somewhere, every family has types. So this is a type for this size, and we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to leave, with windows, the width always goes first and the height goes second. So we're going to leave that 30-inch wide because we like that, but we're going to get rid of this 46 and change it to 66. And hit OK. And then we're going to go down here where we've got our dimensions, and where it says height, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to type 0 space 66, enter. And remember I said last week I like to type it in inches just to kind of verify my math. So there we go. That's 5.5 feet. I'm going to hit OK. And then that changed that one window. It made us a new type. And now I like this proportion a lot better. So you know what? Let's get rid of some of these. I feel like that's just too many right now. So I'm going to get rid of this middle one over here. I just highlighted it and then I pushed delete. And I did that for both of those. It's going to look a little bit cleaner for now, and we can always change it later. So let's go ahead and match all the rest of these windows. So MA, we're going to just bloop, bloop. You know how to do that. Now I'm going to click on all of these. I clicked on that one, and then I'm just going to do Control Select on the rest of these. And since they're all just kind of sitting around all over the place, I'm going to go over here. You know, I just noticed something. If you were looking at Revit 2021 compared to 2022, which, like I said, I'm kind of new in this, they're actually giving a lot more information in here. I think somebody complained and somebody listened, because these out-of-the-box windows have a lot more information than what they used to. So what I'm looking over here, this is interesting. Okay. Again, difference in releases. In Revit 2021 and older versions, over here we would have the head height. Oh, no, we still have it down at the bottom. Okay, I feel like things are rearranged and I'm lost. But okay, we have a head height. I was thinking it wasn't there. We can do by sill height or we can do by head height. I usually do by head height because that is what I put in my window schedule. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this at 80 inches or 6'8", which 7 feet is technically the standard, but I will very often put them at 80 inches so that they line up with the top of the doors, because that's standard door height, and then it just gives you a clean line around the room. Sometimes we do different things, but that's a good general rule. So we're going to type 0 space 80, enter, 6'8", and we're going to hit apply. And then that just made all those nice and neat. So to go, now they're just kind of shifted side to side, but they're all lined up vertically. We're going to go back in here and we're going to activate our dimension tool. You can go find that here, annotate tab, aligned dimension, or keyboard shortcut DI. And I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab this wall and the exterior of the framing. And then I'm going to hit the center of that wall. Windows get dimension to the center of the, so we're going to go wall, wall, window. I don't know how many times my family have heard me in here looking over prints going wall, window, window, wall, door, wall, wall. You probably think I've lost my mind. So we're going to do that one right there, and then we're going to dimension again. Actually, you know what? Get rid of that. We've already got one here, so you're going to go ahead and use this one. So if you have a dimension that's already in place and you want to add to it, you can click on it and then go up here to edit witness lines. And that's going to, you can't move it around, but you can go grab more things. So I'm going to grab that window and that window. And it was already to these outer walls, and then it's to that door. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab this window and this window and this wall. And you know what? We can go ahead and grab that wall. We might adjust that later. So we had this door right where we wanted it, but then we're going to want to locate these walls. And to make it nice and symmetrical on the front, I'm going to go ahead and look at this one. And let's say we're going to locate this by controlling these dimensions. So we're going to click on this window, and then we've got to activate dimensions. I don't know why sometimes that defaults to off, but if it won't let you, if it doesn't give you any dimensions that you can click on, then you've got to click on the activate dimensions. And so we want to make sure, I think this one was the actual plan dimension. I'm going to go, let's do 3.5 feet there. And for this one, I feel like these are going to scoot around when we put our columns in. But for now, let's go ahead. It has done it again. Okay, I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this one 4.5 feet. And it's going to make me mad if I have to do that every single time. Let's make this one 4 feet. Then, just so it's symmetrical, we're going to go over here. Okay, I'm going to have to go find a setting. I'm going to look for just a second. There has to be a setting in here that it's defaulting to. So we're going to make that one 4.5 feet from that wall to match that one over there. And then the same thing with this one. We're going to, nope. Okay. Let's hit save. And I'm going to go dig through my settings real quick. If I can't figure this out quickly, then where would this be? I think that's going to be in there. It's going to be in... Well, that's fine and dandy, but that's not what I was looking for. Okay, I will dig for that later on. I wonder if it's, I think it's just that window type. So basically right now, while we're working with that, we're just going to click activate dimensions on that all the time. If there's anybody who's really smart out there and knows what the heck's going on with that, type it in the comments and we'll get it fixed. So what we've got now is we go back to our 3D view. We've got these windows are pretty well centered, or they're not centered, they are symmetrical. These windows are mostly centered, and we see we've got, we can't put any windows there because we've got a closet. So we might kind of play around with that a little bit, but that's going to work for now. So let's go ahead and do the rest of these windows. I'm going to take this one out. I'll select that and delete it. And then I'm going to match. Uh-oh. You guys can still see me, right? If anybody's out there and listening. My Webex that I am using to scream, it's screaming at me. My Webex that I'm using to stream, I have a meeting going, and it didn't do this last week. It's never done this before. Okay, good. I'm still there. I didn't disappear. It told me I was the only person in the meeting and it was going to close, and that just made me feel really sad. There are other people out there, which is not directly in my Webex. So, okay. We're still good. So what were we doing? I just hit escape twice because I forgot what I was doing. Okay, I think we were matching windows. So MA to match. We're going to click this one, and then we're just going to go grab these two. And since I want those to be in the same spot, because we have bedrooms, a front bedroom and a back bedroom that are just identical, we're going to align them. And so I'm going to, okay, this is how to find it up here. We're going to go to the Annotate tab. And then, oh man, y'all, it's a stash stop party. If y'all don't have stash, you need to get it. It's great. Annotate. And then, oh, no, it's on the Modify tab. Sorry. There it is right there. I never used that. I forgot where it was. Okay, but it's going to be AL, keyboard shortcut for align. And I'm going to click on this front window, and then I'm going to click to that one. Now, I can lock those in place if I want to. I'm not going to because I might move these around. And I don't really care if the front ones align with the back ones. I'm just doing that right now. And so we're going to, I hit escape twice to exit out of that. I could have, this is where I was talking about last week. I could have hit it once. So if I do AL for align, I can align this one. And see, I'm in the tool. If I hit escape, it's going to let go of these things, but I'm still in the tool. You can see it's still got that little align symbol there. But if I hit escape again, it takes me out of the tool. So there's several of those tools in there that you'll use a lot, trim, align, things like that, that escape once, it's still there, you're still in the tool, but it lets go of what you were working with, so you can grab something else, and then you hit escape twice to exit out of the tool. So we also want to change these other windows over on the side. So we're just going to match them all. Just go like that. And I think we want to put another window on the back. It's going to be a different size, but we're going to do WN for window, and we'll just stick one back there. That was the same as the fix, so we'll go ahead and match it to that side window. And then see, we've got some that are going all different directions. So this is the offender. We're going to click on it, hit the space bar to flip it around. And since we can easily tell by what's wood and what's white, we can tell those were actually backwards. So we can do both at the same time. We're going to select it, Control, multi-select, hit the space bar, flip those around. That one's good. And we have no windows over there. So we're going to go ahead and hit save again. Let's dimension these other windows to get them in a spot. So DI for dimension. We're going to grab the front of that exterior of that framing on that wall. And we're just going to hit all these windows on their center line. And then grab the top of that wall in the framing and then drag that and stick it over there. So I'm going to put this one, oh, it's doing this thing again. I don't like it. Okay. We have to activate dimensions. Now I've got something weird going on. We're doing weird things. I accidentally locked it. I just clicked in the wrong spot. Oops. Okay, click it on the window. Activate dimensions because it's being stupid. And I'm going to go ahead and put that one at 4.5 feet. So it's the same for that. We'll probably move that. Or you can put it somewhere else if you want. Not exactly sure what we're going to want to do over here. I'm probably going to want to leave a spot for TV watching. So that's why I'm thinking we might, let's get rid of one of those. That might be too many. So let's click on this one, activate dimensions, and we'll just put it, say, let's do 10 feet. And then let's click on this one. Oh my goodness, y'all. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm not used to having to hit activate dimensions in between all of those, so my whole workflow is crazy. Let's put it at 4 feet. We're probably going to change it later. And let's just put this one at a nice even number. Again, we're probably going to move that one too. So let's get these in our dimensions. So we're going to click that dimension, hit edit witness lines, grab that window. And then I'm just going to click over here to click off of that. And I'm going to put this in a nice spot. Then we need to dimension these. So DI, grab the framing, grab the window, grab the center of this framing. And then when we come up here, notice I can let it gives me this dashed line where it's going to want to align with this other dimension over here. And that's really important because these dimensions are on the same level. I usually come out with windows and doors first, and then all my smaller walls. And then my next one out is going to be bigger pieces of massing. We only have like one massing here, but if you had, say, two big bump outs in a connecting section, then I'm going to keep that massing, and then one whole one. So we don't have a ton of dimensions on this one because it's not an overly complicated house. But if you'll notice, if I'm zoomed in really close, it doesn't give me that option to align with it. If I zoom out where it's visible, then it does. So we're going to click on that. And those are a little far out. I'm going to grab both of those and scoot them in a little bit. This, we can grab that one and it will lock into place. Sometimes that's too close. We can grab that one and lock it in there. I like my dimensions to be neat and tidy, but it also lets you standardize things because I don't like things just willy-nilly. So I know that that's going to lock that and put that into a really good place. And then if they're too close or just too tight, I'll zoom out and I might say grab both of these and just hit the arrow up one, and then grab just that top one and one. And basically what I've done is I've standardized the spacing between those if they were a little bit too tight. Down here, we can grab this one and just arrow it up a little bit and get it in closer. You can pull that one in. That's also a little tight. So we're just going to arrow down. And then we don't have any windows over here. So you can drag these around like this, or you can nudge them around with arrows. That one, seeing that one's really a little tight. So we're just going to push that out. And we'll tidy these up later. We're going to change that font and we're going to get them looking a little bit nicer. So this is pretty good on the windows. Let's go ahead and hit save. And then let's look at our 3D view and see how that's looking. Oh, hi. Hey, Debbie. Yay, thank you for joining. Okay, so we just put in windows and nudged them around a little bit. Right now, they're all the same. And they're all just standing on their own. Now, these two right here, this is where we're going to put our kitchen. Now, if you've ever been in a kitchen before, you'll notice it's not common for windows to go down this low. Not impossible, but not common. So basically, we're going to want to take these two windows and we'll just leave them as double hungs for right now. But we're going to make them shorter. So let's go up here. And we don't have a really short one. So let's do, say, we're going to make our own. We're going to go to Edit Type. We're going to duplicate. We've already done this. We're doing it again. And let's just go 42 inches and see what that does. Okay. So we're keeping our width the same, 30 inches. We're going to go 42 for our height. So we're going to go down here to height. Click on that. Space. 0 space 42, enter. 3.5 feet. Now it's going to want to pull that down to the sill. We're going to go over here in our properties tab and we're going to click on that head height and we're going to do 0.80, enter, 6.8, and that's going to put those back up there. And then without having to do any math, we can look up here and see that that is a 3.2 sill height. And I like that. I'm going to leave that there. Our standard height for kitchen counters is 3 feet. So as long as those windows are over that, I don't like to have a huge gap. I like those windows to come down pretty low. If depending on what you're doing, sometimes you might want them to come down where they're actually flush and you can have your counter go in there. You need to be controlling your water spillage if you do that. But having it just a few inches above the counter, I really like that. Because we've got a sill, it's coming up, it's giving a little bit of separation, you're not going to spill stuff in there so much. But it's still letting a lot more light in. And if you're a little bit on the shorter side like me, if you're standing in front of a sink with a window in front of it and it's, you know, 8 inches or a foot up, I can't see out that really well. So I like for them to come down a little bit lower. So those look pretty good. I think we're going to leave those like that for now. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward, but that's going to work for us for now. So let's mess with those that are about 4-inch space for a backsplash. That's a good question. So most kitchens these days do not actually do the traditional 4-inch backsplash. It's way more common now, especially if you're doing a tile, a full height tile backsplash. I should clarify that that's going all the way up to the bottom of your upper cabinets if you have them. Then you're just going to have your tile and then your countertop, and you're not going to have that 4-inch backsplash. Does that make sense? But that is something to consider because, and that's going to come down to cost. If you're not doing a tile backsplash, I mean, it could be design, but being real, that's usually going to come down to cost. So if you're just wanting to do a painted backsplash and you have upper cabinets and you're not going to do a tile backsplash, then yeah, you don't want your counters to just die into sheetrock that's painted, because you're going to, it's going to get wet and it's going to get yucky and it's going to get ruined. So then, yeah, it's just kind of a design thing. It's a trend and it might not last forever, but if you got a tile backsplash, it's just coming all the way down. It's just one less thing to mess with. So, I mean, cost-wise, I would say it's cheaper to do a counter with that backsplash that's matching your counter. And of course, if you're doing a laminate counter where it's built in, obviously it's built in. Most of my clients, actually pretty much all of my clients are using some kind of solid surface like granite, marble, sometimes soapstone. Soapstone's not really common around here. It's very high maintenance and it's expensive. But a lot of quartz and synthetic type things like that. Quartz is an amazing countertop surface. So yeah, it can come down to a matter of, you know, an aesthetics, just an opinion on the style and what you like. But that's the trend right now. So let's see. Any other questions? Kind of want to mess with these windows some more, but I also kind of want to mess with the kitchen. So let's just jump in for the kitchen. It's already 7:09. All right, this is where I needed my sketchbook because I had a little bit of a kitchen layout in mind. Now, bear in mind, we're doing this as basic plans. So this is very rough. And one thing, you know, if you were drafting old school or doing AutoCAD or just basically any kind of drafting where you're not doing BIM modeling or anything like that, and no 3D views or anything like that, you would handle all this with lines. Now, if you're showing elevation views, you'd have some more lines there possibly, but if you were just doing very, very simple plans, all of your representation of where your cabinets are going to go, they're just going to go on your floor plan as lines. I usually do that just as an initial layout, and then I kind of take it a step further, and then if we're doing detailed plans, I go way further. But if it's just basic plans, I'll take it a little bit further. So what we're going to do right now, just for purposes of kind of laying it out, is we're going to draw some detail lines. Now in Revit, you've got model lines and you've got detail lines. There are probably many differences, but the big difference is if you draw a model line, it's going to show everywhere in the model. So if I draw a model line in a floor plan view like this, and then I go look at it from one of my 3D views, I'm going to see it from everywhere. if I do a detail line, that is like a drafting thing, and it's only going to show in the view in which I drew it. And I'll give you an example. So we're going to go architecture tab, model line, and that's line, just like old school AutoCAD, LI. I'm pretty sure that's it. So let's just go draw some model lines right out here. We didn't tell it what level to put them on, but it defaulted to the first floor plan. So that's drawing those right there on our floor. Now, if we draw a detail line, which is on the Annotate tab because it's a drafting tool, the shortcut for that is DL. I use this all the time. There's probably not a single time that I ever open Revit, unless I'm only working on renderings, that I'm not using this tool. So let's just draw a little rectangle over here with our detail line. Now we're going to go over here to our first floor 3D. This was our view that we created that didn't have a roof on it. So if we spin this around, then what do we see? We see the model lines, but we don't see the detail lines. So as you're working through this, you'll see different times when you want to use one or the other. I don't use model lines very often at all because I can throw detail lines into like working views that I'm not really showing and do what I need to do and not have to worry about hiding them in other views. If you draw a model line, it's going to show up everywhere. And so if you've got 50 views or something, or you've got construction documents that are already complete or nearly complete, that's going to show up everywhere. And to hide those, you're going to have to hide it in every single view, which gets cumbersome. And the only way to get around that is to delete them. So kind of something to keep in mind. If you're wanting to draw something where you want to see it from everywhere, make it a model line. If you only want to see it in one place, make it a detail line. So we can select these, and you can multi-select them. I like to hit on it and click delete, because when you're multi-selecting, if you accidentally click things that you didn't mean to click, then you have to go back and start over again. And so I like to just select, delete, select, delete, select, delete. It seems more cumbersome, but I know where I trip up on things. So it's kind of about knowing yourself and your own weaknesses. Time for tea. Fear not, it's decaf. There's no way I could drink that much caffeine this time of night. Okay, so we're going to use our detail lines. We're going to go DL. And we're just going to come somewhere in the kitchen over here. And we're going to click on this wall. And we're going to start dragging down this way. Now you can click to place this, like you just saw I was drawing rectangles. Or you can tell it how far you want to go. I'm coming down here and I'm going to hit 2, enter, because I want it to come out 2 feet. And then I'm just going to drag this over here and click somewhere. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to click on this wall. I'm going to come out 2 feet and I'm going to drag that up there. So we've got this kind of start. Now we're going to use the trim tool. I think we used this last week, TR. We're going to click on this one. We're going to click on this one. And so now we have kind of some semblance of kitchen counters. I am going to dimension these just so we can place them a little bit better. So DI, we're going to click on this one and drag that over there. And then we're going to do the same thing for over here. And so this line, we've got a lot of space between here and the door. So let's make that 10 feet and see what it does. That's pretty good. If somebody maybe doesn't have a built-in trash cabinet and they want to put a trash can right here, that might be enough space. And then for this one, let's make that 8 feet and see what that does. Yeah, that's not too bad. I will say with kitchen layouts, I actually hate corners. I don't know what it is. I think I have some bad taste in my mouth, maybe from a traumatic past or something with corner cabinets. I just do not like them. But they make a lot of really good tools these days. So if you have a corner cabinet, I mean, we have a corner cabinet in our house that it's angled, and you just open the door and there's a Lazy Susan back there. So it's actually a decently effective use of the space. I would say we don't lose things back in there, but it is possible for things to fall off the Lazy Susan and get stuck back there, and somebody has to kind of crawl back in there and get it, and it's not easy. So, but you know, if you do them without it angled, it's just like a corner in there. There are all sorts of things. You get on Pinterest and look at, you know, stuff for corner cabinets. There are things that pull out and something else pulls out, or they just kind of angle out and do all these cool things. And they're not cheap necessarily, but if that's the only layout option that you've got, or you're remodeling and that's what was there and you really have to stick with it, those things are out there. I just, if I can avoid doing an L-shaped kitchen, I usually will. But this is a simple home, and this is actually the most likely that, you know, layout for a basic home. So we're going to roll with it. You have a fix for that? What's your fix for it? And I'm sorry, it's hard to do this and teach and then also keep up with the comments. I kind of need like a class full of children that will raise their hands. Brandon, you can't text me because I put my phone on silent. Okay. So I'm waiting for Brandon to respond back to that. I'm going to, let me see if I had some actual dimensions in mind. I think I kind of had them in mind and then I didn't actually do. Oh, there you go. That's smart. He says do a false back so you don't lose things way in the back. And that's actually, that's a good idea. You know, I have so many clients that come to me and, you know, in their list of requests, they'll say, I really don't want to waste any space. And sometimes the best way to make use of space is to waste some space. That doesn't make any sense. We'll probably come across something at some point. Yeah, at a 45-degree angle. There you go. That can actually work. You know, there also, you can do drawers that come in there. And again, you're losing some of that space, but you're getting a really good use of that corner space. So sometimes you're going to waste a little bit of space to make a really good effective use of the space. Just because something's all wide and open and you have access to all of that space doesn't make it an effective use of that space. And really, it's all about, can you effectively store things? And this might seem like, what the heck does this have to do with drawing up some plans for a house? It has everything to do with drawing up some plans for a house, because these are the kind of things that we talk about. I do a lot of kitchen designs, and you know, most of my projects, even for basic plans, we're thinking through the kitchen design, and we might be doing some specific things. There you go. So we might be, you know, just kind of looking at the overall layout, and then they're going to take them to their cabinet maker. Their builder's going to help them with shop drawings. Usually that's not because they don't want me to do it. It's because I don't have time to get to it, and they're wanting to get in and out fast, and it takes time. All of my detailed clients, they have me designing their kitchens. They want me to do everything so it's a cohesive design. But a lot of that is because we talk about these things. I don't go, oh, you have these options. We talk about, what do you have in your kitchen? What are you going to be getting that you've always wanted? What are you going to put? Do you have linens? Do you have napkins? Do you have tablecloths? Do you have fabric tablecloths? What kind of trash do you need? We talk through all of these needs, and we think about how much space they need for things and where they're going to store things, so that when people build one of my kitchens, they don't have to walk into their kitchen when it's built and they move in and think, oh, where am I going to put things? They already know where everything's going to go, because we created a place for all of those things. And that's one of the reasons why I love to do all these detailed plans. But I digress. Let's go back to our very basic kitchen plan. So what we're going to do is, this kitchen is going to have a small island, and we're going to use the offset tool to show that, because we're still just working with these detail lines right now. So the offset tool is, it's one of those things I use all the time, but I don't know where it is. It's over here under the Modify tab. Keyboard shortcut is OF. So we're going to do OF, or you can hit the button. And I always leave this set a numerical. It's what it defaults to. I don't even know what graphical does. I would say forget it's there, but I never use it. So I use numerical. So we're going to go in here into the offset, and this copy defaults to checked. You're going to leave that checked, and I'll show you why. So we're going to select that. It's wanting to do 4 inches. We are going to do 3.5 feet. And let's try that. So 3 space 6 enter. And we're going to hover over, don't click on anything yet. We're going to hover over this line. Now I'm kind of hovering near it on this side. Now if I go over there, it'll want to go over there. So you can see I can kind of toggle back and forth. And since we want this to be in the house, we're going to do on this side. We're going to do the same thing over here. And I can toggle back and forth. That one's kind of out of sight. Oh, no, it wants to go to that one. It won't toggle. That might have been a change. Okay, so we're going to do here. We're going to do trim to trim those up. And then let's do DL to just make a line over here. I'm going to just drag that over there. We're going to offset again, OF. And let's do, you know what, let's actually leave that at 3.5 feet. And so what we're going to do is we want to complete this. Woo! My rolly ball went crazy. Okay, and we're going to click right there. So I'm going to hit escape twice to get out of there, TR to trim, and I'm going to click on this, and this, and this, and this. And there we go. That's a little island. So this is, we can click on this and it's going to show us that's 6.5 feet. That's actually a pretty decent little island. So we'll go ahead and dimension that. Now, here's what I talk about thinking through this layout. The minimum width that you need to have between a run of cabinetry and another run of cabinetry, or in this case, an island, is 3 feet. That is the minimum. I very rarely put in the minimum. In a house this size, I'm putting in 3.5 feet, and to me, that's tight. This path right here is not a major traffic flow right here. I want that one to stay open. So depending on how many people you have cooking in your kitchen, if you got a lot of people cooking in there, you might want that to be 4 feet. If you're looking at accessibility and you need room for maneuvering, you know, walkers, wheelchairs, anything like that, you might want that to be more. I've got a galley kitchen that I'm doing right now in a home, and a galley kitchen just has like a run of cabinetry on each side. It's a kind of a long rectangle, and we've got all our functions hugging these 2 outer walls, and there's about 7 feet of space in between those runs of cabinetry, and that sounds like it's a lot. But if you have somebody on one side that's washing dishes at the sink or cutting something up at the counter, and someone else is cooking over here, then they can both be doing their functions and someone can walk in between them. So that's a really good use. So we're leaving 3.5 feet right now. We can change that if we want to, because there's nothing here. It's just detail lines. So we have those in. Y'all, we're totally not going to get to those columns and the headers and the porches today, and that's okay. We'll just focus on this kitchen. So I'm going to look at this first floor 3D. Now notice there's nothing there. Those were just detail lines. They're just on this floor plan. But we're going to go ahead and put something in. So let's hit save. Have a tea drink. Or whatever you're drinking. So we're going to go ahead and start modeling some things in place. Now, unpopular opinion, I like to model things in place. A lot of people will say, don't do this. It's a bad habit. It might be a bad habit, but you can put things in here that are existing. So cabinetries also, it's called, it just wants to end my meeting. Okay, I'm still here. Cabinetry is called casework. So if you see something that's casework and you don't know what the heck it's talking about, it's just cabinetry. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to architecture. I just want to see what they have in here. If we go over to component, and let's just kind of scroll through here. See, it has no cabinetry in here. I'm curious. We're not going to stick with this, but let's go to the insert tab. Let's go to load Autodesk family. I want to show you guys where to find this in case you have no clue what you're doing. or you just don't want to take the time and you want to know how to do this. So we went to load Autodesk Family. So we're pulling our cloud assets. We're going to go to casework. And here's where you can find ready-made cabinets. Now, these are ugly, but this is going to have all the basic components. This is way more available than they had in the past, I will say. There's quite a few things in here. So this has all the basic stuff. So if you wanted to put together a kitchen out of the things that are already in here, you can grab any of those and load them into the project and use those. We're going to take a different tactic and we're going to model in place, and you'll see why in a minute. So we're going to go over here to architecture. We're going to go to component, but this time, instead of loading a family, we're going to model in place. And it is casework. So it asks you what kind of family you want it to be. This might not seem super important, but it can be important. And it has to do with how things relate to each other. And also sometimes how things will join. A lot of people will make anything they do in place just generic. I kind of have a system. It's one of those things, if you're using Revit, you're probably going to trip up with a family category somewhere. I think you're going to learn your lesson and never do it again. A good example is one time I made window trim, just modeled custom in place, and I made it a window because it made sense to me that, oh, this is like part of a window. It's window trim, and I made it a window. Then when I got later in the project and I was working on my window schedule, which it automatically creates it, but when I was actually going to refine it and stuff, I had these extra windows in there, and I was losing my mind. Like, where are these windows? These don't exist. And then the light bulb went off. Oh my gosh, it's the trim. I made them windows. Revit wants to count all the windows, so they're showing up in the schedule. So what kind of family category you use is actually really important. So I'm just going to make this casework because I like my casework to be casework. You can double click that, or you can click it and hit OK. Now you can name this if you want to, like kitchen cabinets 1 or something like that. I don't, because I'm doing residential work and I don't usually end up with so many that I need to name them. So I just usually let it count up, and I don't end up with a ton of them. So we're going to hit OK there. Just let it be casework 1. Now we're going to go to create and then extrusion. And we can draw if we want to, but what we're going to do is, since we already drew in some detail lines, we're going to do pick lines. So hit this. And you can kind of start anywhere, but remember what I said about Revit liking clockwise? So we're going to click on this. You can lock it if you want to, but we don't have to because we're going to move things around probably. Then we're just going to go around and we're going to click on all of these. Now, we didn't draw a line back here because there was a wall. So we're going to have to click on that wall. And then we're going to have to click on this wall. And then that sticks off there. So we're going to trim TR and click on both of those. And then do the same thing over here. So now we've got a complete L-shaped rectangular shape. And we're going to hit that check mark to finish it. Now, if we look up in here, it's showing we're still in the tool, but it finished. So we finished making that extrusion, but we're not finished with the family. So if we finish the model, then we have finished that, and it's just got this dumpy gray ugly thing sitting here. Now we're going to click on it again. We can click edit in place, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on that extrusion. So we made a custom in place family that was a model, and it can be made up of different extrusions and other kinds of things and voids. So right now we only have one in there, so that's all there is for us to click on. So we're going to click on that, and right now this says extrusion start. So we've got, it tells us where our work plane is. That's the first floor. We haven't done a whole lot and it wants to default to that. When you get a little bit later on, you might want to click something to change that, or you can pick your work plane, and we'll get to that later. But right now, just know that this is sitting right on the first floor. And the extrusion start means that it's going to start with the first floor. If I say made this 4 inches and hit apply, now you can see it is hovering 4 inches off the floor because that's its work plane, and now I've got it starting 4 inches over. I'm going to change that back to 0 because I want it sitting right on the floor. And what we're going to do here for the end is I'm just going to put 3 feet in there. So now that is 3 feet, which is a standard kitchen cabinet height. Now, Brandon's going to be the one to catch this. What if we put a countertop on there? We're going to put a countertop on it later, in which case I would make this 210.5. But just for basic plans, we're just showing that there's massing, there's something there. So I'm just going to leave it at 3 feet. And then if we come in later and refine it, we can. Now, it's that ugly default gray, so we want to change that. So let's click on it again. And here where it says material by category, you can click on that. It'll give you a ... box. And so we can come over here and I think we just have a white paint. Yep. We're going to do this clad white. That's our white paint. And we'll click on it. And now we have some very basic, no detailed white cabinets there. Now we're going to finish this model. And then let's go ahead and hit save. So we did good work. And then we're going to do another one. Now, I will show you in a minute why we're making it a separate one. So we went back to our first floor plan. We're going to hit the architecture tab. We're going to do component, model in place again. And I'm going to double click on casework. I'm just leaving it like that. And then I'm going to create another extrusion. So create extrusion, pick lines. And I'm just going to click on all 4 of those lines. And then I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go look at this. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to make it 3 feet tall, and I'm going to make it white. Now, I clicked that last, so it's already on there, so I don't have to go hunt for it. I just hit OK. And there we go. I'm going to hit finish model. So the reason why I made those 2 separate models, I could have made 2 extrusions in the same model, but now these are separate. So if I want to move this one around, I can. Now I'm going to get rid of my detail lines right here because I don't need them anymore. And now this is going to let me highlight my model. So I can move this over here. I can move it all around and it's not messing with that. So if I have an island or something separate, I will usually keep, like, if I've got, say, a galley kitchen and we've got one run over here and one run over here, I'm not going to make those the same. I'm going to let them be their own separate thing because every time you need to go change something, if I wanted to move this and it's all one thing, then I would have to go in there and edit the family. Where if I just need to, like, say, scoot it over 2 inches, I can just grab this thing and scoot it over 2 inches. I don't have to go in there and edit it. So I'm going to put it back where it was. And there we've got a little basic kitchen going on in there. So for basic plans where we're not really doing much of any layout, I might leave it like this. We probably need to put in a little bit more than that, and I'm going to kind of look and see what. Know that I had some kitchen worked out here. I had to play with it on the computer, which does not help us right now. So let's work on details for that a little bit later on, because I think I want to show you guys how to create some camera perspective views, and then I want to refine these windows a little bit, and then we might stop there for the day. So let's go to this first floor plan. Now, there's something that I do. If you looked in my template, you would be like, why are there 2 copies of every floor plan view? Well, I like to have a kind of a working view, and it lets me kind of think of it like as a sketching view. So this is my first floor plan. This is where I have dimensions. This is what I'm going to put on construction documents so that somebody can actually build off of. However, I might want somewhere that I want to make a mess. And let's create our messy plan. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to hover over first floor plan, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to duplicate view. Now, I'm going to just duplicate it. You have these other options here, and I'm not really going to go into them right now. I don't want to do the detailing. Sometimes we do that, usually not, but I'm just going to duplicate it right now. Now it gives me a copy. So what I'm going to do is I want to rename this. We're going to slow click and make sure your caps lock is off. I'm going to do this. So I have first floor plan. So see, I have two first floor plans, but one is lowercase and one is all caps. My all caps is my actual going on the construction documents view. This is my messy view. So I can put more additional dimensions on there. I can kind of draw on there with sketchy lines. A lot of times I will do some interior elevations and I will leave those visible on here. And we're going to do like a kitchen day later where we discuss that. But this is where I can leave things visible that I don't want visible on the other one. And it lets me just toggle back and forth between those. This one usually ends up, this is funny, it's the messy view, but it ends up cleaner in some respects. So I usually go over here to shoot my camera views. So let's shoot a few interior camera views so that we can see. I call them perspective views. Some people call them camera views. And I don't know if there is a proper term and I just call it the wrong thing. Sometimes I just kind of do my own thing. I always do my own thing. Who am I kidding? I just do what I want to do. So, okay, we're going to go up here to the View tab. And then we're going to go to 3D View. Now, if you click on this one right here, our little house icon, it is the same as this default 3D view. Okay, and this says opens the default orthographic 3D view. So same thing for here. But what we're going to do is we're going to click this drop down box and we are going to click on camera. Okay, this gives us this tiny little camera icon. And let's just throw this in this corner. I'm going to come over here, not right in the corner, but really close. And this shows where these lines are. I forget, I can't see my hands. Where these lines are on the, obviously the center is the center line. And the ones on the right and the left are going to show, like if I were taking a picture, it's going to show where the sides are. That's where my view is. So I want to look over here towards the kitchen, and I don't really want to see that door. I just kind of want to clip it. So I'm going to put it right here. And so I'm looking almost directly into that corner, but not quite. I'm going to click right there, and there we go. Ta-da! This reminds me, we need to put a ceiling in here, though. So this is a nice view. We can change some things about it over here. I'm going to click over here my eye elevation, and I'm going to put this at 4.6, and I'm going to put this at 4.6, just because that is actually closer to my eye elevation. This is where I see things. And maybe not that low, but I like it. It just kind of sits down a little bit lower. Now, these do not have to be the same. We can put this eye elevation, that's where you're looking from. We could put that at, say, 2 feet. And your target elevation is where you're looking to. We could put that at 12 feet. That's kind of drastic. We're going to hit apply and see what that does is it sets us down lower and we're looking up high. I don't usually do this because it skews things a little bit. I will very often leave them the same unless we're like looking up or downstairs. Sometimes we're up on a loft and we're looking down like into a main living area or something like that. So I'm going to Control Z to put those back. Oops, I went too much. Okay. So I'm going to put that back at 4.6. You can put it whatever you want. This is the same thing as that 3D view where it's defaulting to hidden line, and I'm going to change it to consistent colors. I hate these colors, but we're going to fix them. So we're going to do a couple more things before we wrap up for the night. So this, if you see over here in your project browser, it named it the default 3D view 1. Okay. If we keep creating views, it's just gonna start numbering them down, and we're not gonna have any clue where we are. So we're gonna rename this. I'm gonna slow click on that, and I like to differentiate my exterior and my interior. This is one of those things that would, if you're on your own or you're just playing around, you're probably going to develop your own system. It's probably a matter of company standards and template and things like that. For me, I like to differentiate the interior and exterior. So I will always name my interior views interior space dash space and then whatever it is. So this one is living to kitchen, and I'll name it, I'll put a 1 there because there's almost always going to be another one. So now we have that named, we know what it is. So let's go create another one. We're going to go back to this first floor plan, 3D view drop down box, camera, and we'll go ahead and go from this corner. And we're just going to kind of go over here. You can do where you want. It's not going to look exactly like mine. So there we've got another one. Let's go ahead and make it consistent colors. A lot of times I will do consistent colors, even if they're ugly like this, so that I can, it helps orient me in the view a little bit better, and the hidden line looks cleaner. So even if I ended up doing something where I had everything hidden line, just black and white on construction documents, I would probably leave these colored like this just for working through them, because it's just, I feel like it has a good visual grounding. So we're going to rename this one again, slow clicking, and we're going to do interior living to kitchen 2. Okay. Now we really need some ceilings in here. That is something we missed before. Ceilings are another system. I was talking last week about systems, floors, walls, roofs, ceilings. That's another type of a system, not a family. So we've gone here. Okay. So we want to create a ceiling. I do not actually mess with these ceiling plans very much. I have kind of a different way that I do things. They're reflected ceiling views, and so they're like down looking up. What we're going to do is we're just going to stay in this 3D view right here, and we're going to go to the architecture tab and ceiling, and it's going to give us some options here for the types. I'm going to do generic. Okay. Now it wants to put it on the first floor plan, but 8 feet over it. We don't want to do that, because then it's going to be parametrically tied to that first floor plan, and we want it to be tied to ceiling. So we're going to go in the drop down box and do first floor ceiling, and we're going to change this to 0. Okay. So we're going to sketch the ceiling. I don't even want to mess with that automatic ceiling. So we're going to pick lines, not walls, because I don't know where it's going to go. I prefer to pick lines because it gives me more control. So, but I am going to pick the walls. I'm just going to grab the insides of them. So we're going to click on that one, and we are going to lock it into place. So we're going to grab just these exterior walls, lock it into place. We're going to spin around so we can see over here. Click, lock, and one more, click, lock. So you can do this from a floor plan view. You could go to the first floor ceiling view. You can see those sketching lines anywhere. I just go wherever I can see what I need to see. So we've got those lines there. We're going to hit enter, and I did something weird. It's on the first floor. Thought I changed that. Okay. Well, that's a good example of it didn't do what I wanted it to do. It's still sitting on the first floor plan. So we're going to change that to first floor ceiling. You can hit apply, but it already did it. Now, there we have a ceiling. So one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. We've got this first floor 3D. We're going to duplicate that. So right click, duplicate, because I want to do one that has ceilings and one that doesn't have ceilings. I think I mentioned that last week. So we're going to slow click and we'll just make this second one with ceilings. So we're going to go over here to this other one and we're going to hide the ceiling. So I'm going to hover over that and right click it and just hide it in the view. So we've got three nice 3D views. We've got our default 3D view that shows us everything. We've got our roof on there. And then we've got this one where we've hidden the roof, but we can see our ceilings. And then we've got this one here that has the roof and the ceilings pulled off. And I know that seems kind of crazy, but when you're doing this kind of work, you're going to want to see those ceilings sometimes and not see the ceilings sometimes. And instead of trying to hide and unhide, it just makes more sense to create views where you can see the things that you need to see. So depending on what kind of work you're doing, you might want to tailor that to your own self. As you're working, you'll find out what you use a lot and what you don't use a lot and what you need to see and what you don't need to see. So it's been a while since we hit save. Let's go ahead and hit save. We're going to clean these windows up a little bit and then wrap it up. So I don't like the wood on the inside of these. So we're going to kind of mess with this. So let's click on this window. Now, if you don't understand parametrics, I keep saying it's parametrically tied together. This means that if I do something in one view, it's doing it in all the views. And I really should have mentioned this sooner. If I click on this window and I delete it, it pulled it out there, but notice it's also gone from the floor plan. It's also gone from the schedule. It's gone from the left elevation. If I hit Control Z to undo it, it goes back and it goes back everywhere. It's parametrically tied together. All of these views are tied together. So if you were, say, hand drafting or working in AutoCAD, like old school AutoCAD, and you had these different views, and if you added or removed something in different views, you'd have to go and handle it in every single view, and it creates a lot of room for errors. This being parametrically, it's a parametric program. That's what BIM, building information modeling, is. It's all wrapped up in this lovely package where everything's connected together. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, did I get that out of those 10 views? Is it still in the window schedule? No, if you deleted it, it's gone. It's just gone. And if you put it in somewhere, you don't have to worry about adding it in because it went in everywhere. So parametrics are awesome. Now, if I make a change to this window type, it's going to change all of the ones that are the same type, which are all of them except for those two. So I'm going to leave these visible and we're going to change this. So I don't like that wood trim on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here to edit type, and I like how this has this broken down. It used to not do this, and I actually have taken a lot of my windows and made it, you know, if you go buy a basic window, like a basic vinyl window, it's going to be the same color for both sashes and for the frame. It's going to be like white, it's going to be black, kind of. Maybe you have like an almond color or something. You don't have a lot of choices. If you're doing wood clad windows, like aluminum clad wood windows, anything like that, or really higher end windows, you're going to have the option of having a different color on the inside and on the outside. And by having different materials available on the inside and the outside, you can do that. A lot of times I'll leave mine the same, but Remember last week when we set our sash material? Here's where that's going to come in really handy. What we're going to do is I'm going to do, see, it says frame. We're going to make the whole thing the sash. So we're going to go exterior frame material. Actually, we're going to do interior. We're going to click on that for interior frame material. We're going to click the dot, 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 and we're going to type sash. There we go. How to fix that material later on. And then we are going to turn the interior trim material to be the same, that clad white. That's okay. And then we're going to hit OK. We're going to see what happens. There, that changed all of those windows to have a trim that's white, and the window frame and sash, that's all black. Now, we don't want the frame to be black. We only want the sashes to be black, but this family is not set up for that. So we'll tweak it later, but for now, we're just going to leave it like that. It's also just got lines for this. So we will totally mess with that later. So let's look at it from the outside. We can see what those are doing on the outside. See, they're white on the outside. So this is editing type. We're going to go in here. We have the exterior frame material is white. We want to change that to sash. And then you can kind of check. So we've got interior and exterior frame material. Those are both sash. And the trim are just the white. So we're going to hit OK and see what that did. And that changed all of those because they're the same type. Why didn't it change these? Because they're a different type. So we have to go in there and do the same thing for those. Now, if we copied this from this to this, it would keep those materials in there. But since we copied it before we set those materials, we've got to go in here. So we're going to go exterior frame material, sash. This gets a little laborious. This is why you create a good template so that everything is set up the way that you want it to be. You figure out which things are common. We want to get rid of that wood because it's ugly. So, yep, that needs to be white. There we are. Okay, so those look pretty good. Let's hit save and let's fix this wood floor because that color is really glaring. So we're going to click on that. We're going to go to edit type and then we're going to go to structure. Now remember, if we click on preview, it'll show us the layers like we're cutting a section view through it. We don't need that right now. This is our material for our finish. It goes obviously top to bottom. Our finished material is oak flooring. We're going to click on that little dot, 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 and we're going to go in here. So this is the material that if we were doing renders, this is what would show. And I'm okay with that right now because we're not messing with that. I'm sure we'll get to renders with this later, but that requires different software. You can render in here, but it's very slow and it's not really great quality. So what we are going to do is we're going to go to graphics, and this, whoops, this color right here, that is what's showing. Well, let me move that. That's what's showing in this 3D view, and that's what we want to change. So let's just take it down a little bit darker. And this saturation is way up here. Let's change that to 50 and see how that looks just more calm to me, kind of. Okay. So it's still, like maybe it's got a little bit much green in it. So you can kind of play around with that. Maybe take that down. Maybe that was too much. So anyway, you can play around with that. You can pick these colors. You can go to Pantone colors here. Oops, it keeps wanting to kick me out of there. You can just pick a Pantone color in here, which can be really handy. Oh, it's giving me a warning because it's the first time I've opened that. Okay. Well, it's thinking for a very long time. Sometimes it does this. I'm afraid to hit enter because I click on anything. I'm afraid it's going to freeze up. Oh, yay, there we go. Okay, so hit OK. And then, oh, I liked where it was. So let's just click on, so you can scoot along here. You can click along these. I'm going to pick like this warm gray here. And I don't know if I've totally gone out of the picture here. Let's go a little bit darker. Let's just roll with that. No, let's not. I don't like it. You can also just kind of go around in here. I feel like I've completely like lost touch of what color I want now. So I'm going to go back in here. I think this is being a little bit slow because I'm streaming. So I probably need to stop opening Pantone. There's nothing for it now. When Revit gets to thinking and you got this little spinny bar here, if you try to get out of it, I don't know if I could even hit escape. If I try to start clicking on other things, it's going to get mad and it's going to freeze up. It'll say not responding. And sometimes it'll unfreeze itself when it's done thinking, and sometimes it'll crash. So if you do get a crash, send them an error report. Oh, I should not have clicked on Pantone. I've learned my lesson. I will never click Pantone when I'm streaming. Click on that. Okay. We just have to wait. I would sing, but you probably don't want to hear me sing. So after we're done adjusting this, then that'll kind of wrap us up. And then we can pick up next week with working on the porches. That'll be a really good place to look at. And we'll kind of go back through and refine a few areas. We'll play around with the kitchen a little bit. But there won't be just a whole lot of stuff left after we get those porches on there. We're going to start looking at some construction documents and see how we could document this. Okay, I'm going to, oh yay, okay, we got it. I am not going to click on anything else. We're just gonna pick a color and go with it. I feel like all these colors are just being really ugly. We're just gonna go with that. It might be ugly, but we're gonna go with it. We're just gonna, okay, out of there. Okay, that's actually not that bad. See, I was worried for nothing. So that just changed the color of the floor in here. If we were to render it, it would be that other material. This is just the color of this. So we got that looking a little less scary. We're gonna go ahead and save that. And let's check out our 3D view. I mean, we've got this nice calm view. So this is looking, our colors are looking pretty good. I want to change those window color, the glass color, but I know it's going to get angry at me. So we might save that for next time. I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to do. We've got our ceilings in there. Is anyone out there that has any questions right now? Trying to see how many viewers we have out there. If anybody has any questions about any of the things that we did tonight before we stop. So I'm going to look at my calendar real quick because I believe, yes, next week I'm planning on Wednesday again. And then the following week is probably going to either be on on like a different day, or the next week's probably either going to be on the Tuesday, no questions, probably either going to be on the Tuesday or not at all, because quite honestly, I'm having surgery the Wednesday morning, so I'm not going to live stream the following week. But next week for Wednesday the 12th, as long as the weather is good, no lightning going on outside, then we should be good. So, trying to think if there's anything else that I was gonna tell you. I mean, if you guys have requests for different things that you want to learn or dive in a little bit deeper, we're just kind of going over basics here. And after we document this house and finish with the model, then we're gonna kind of circle back around and really hit some more details and dive in a little bit deeper. But if you ever have any questions about anything that I'm doing, that's the great thing about doing this live. I can answer questions. My email is actually in my information. So if you're watching this on the replay and you have something that's really nagging you, you want to ask a question, shoot me an email and ask, or just make an appointment to, or make an appointment. I make a lot of appointments. Make it a point to catch the next live and see and be available to ask questions for that. And other than that, y'all, if you're enjoying this, please hit the like button, subscribe. If you have got any friends or colleagues, if you know any students or anybody who would be interested in learning this, or who needs or wants to learn it for work or just for fun, please spread the word with them. I mean, I am a baby channel. This is my second live video, and it is honestly a little bit awkward sitting here in my office talking to myself. I talk to myself anyway, but there are people out there on the other end. So, you know, this is kind of fun. I hope this is helpful, and I hope somebody's learning from it, and this will, you know, just be on the interwebs for many years to come, so that you guys can learn from it later on. And, you know, in a few more years, it will be completely out of date. We'll just have to do a new one. So, if nobody has any questions, then I guess we'll sign off for the night. And I will see you guys next week. Y'all have fun. Thanks for joining. Bye.